Hello, in this demonstration, I am going to show you how to make your own handmade collage papers, actually a big stack of them that we will use in future projects. This is going to be a little wild, so you probably want to get organized before you begin because you'll kind of get into a flow state and there's just going to be lots of collage paper everywhere. So ahead of time, what I did was I made stacks of paper with these clips. I've got newsprint, drawing paper, some old book pages. I think this is rice paper. This is wet strength tissue paper. I put in some carbon paper and I put in some paper bags. I might not get to all of them, but I think it would be fun to play with different types of paper. Then I want to have different tools ready to go, like my brushes and palette knives, paint colors that are of interest, and here I go. I'm going to start with the simplest one, which is I'm going to use this Flair. It's a Papermate Flair pen, water soluble. So this could be a very simple way of making unique handmade collage paper. I'll just do a few rows of this, but ideally I would fill the whole page with marks. I'm just doing lines across the page. So given more time, I would do that. Then I'm going to use my spray bottle and lightly mist it to activate the Flair pen. And I'm going to get sort of this broken line. It almost looks like a tangled thread. Okay, now I'm going to put that to the side. This is where you might want to have your space organized either with a clothesline or surfaces to put your work on. The second one, I am going to, here's a piece of drawing paper. Actually, maybe I'll go to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go to the newsprint using carbon paper, something we don't see very much anymore. And let's see. Actually, I'm going to put this in between and then make my marks on top. I could use a regular pencil. I could scrape marks with my palette knife. I could use a meat skewer. Okay, and then for the reveal, here would be a sheet of paper. So it's going to have a softer look. Again, when making these papers, we're just trying to make interesting marks and kind of overall pattern that we might use in a future piece. Okay, now another one I can do is crumple up a sheet of paper, uncrumple it, and then I'm going to take, here, I'll do it with the blue. I'm going to take this turquoise phthalo high flow acrylic and a flat brush. I'm going to hold my brush at a low 45-degree angle. You could probably do this with heavy body paint as well, but and then low 45-degree angle and then dragging, and I'm going to pick up on all of that texture, which I think makes a really nice sheet of collage paper. I could leave the wrinkles in or later flatten or iron them out. Okay, there we go. Sheet of collage paper. I'm going to go on to let's see, a book page. I could do some stamping. I always think it's nice to have collage papers just in black and white for contrast. Again, I'm using the high flow acrylic, and I've got different objects here I can stamp. I've got a Lincoln log. So overall pattern, black and white, is really nice to have as a contrast. Okay, so there's one. Different found objects like the end of this tape spool. So we want lots of these, a little stash of these to work with. Okay, so that's it for stamping. This one, let's see, I can demonstrate what I did is you take an awl, a piercing tool. I can make holes in a sheet of paper, smaller, larger, holes, holes, holes. And then what I did, that I'm not going to demonstrate, in a pan, a shallow pan, like hot water and coffee, I can make some stained papers. I did it here with this punctured paper. I even ripped some papers. I like the edges of the drawing paper there. I think these have interesting patterns, textures, and subtle color. You could probably also stain some papers with liquid acrylic paint. Okay, another way to make pattern paper would be with stencils. I believe this is the rice paper. Actually, I'm going to go to this graph paper here. So whatever stencils you have, right? And I like this one again, just a simple repeating pattern. And I can kind of dry brush over that. I think it's kind of nice on the graph paper. Let's see. I could actually, I like this very odd brush. I don't know what you call it. They come in different sizes and look really strange, but they make great marks. What I like is they're precise and uniform, and yet if I wiggle it, I can change it up a bit. I can go straight and crisscross and get kind of a fabric texture. They also mimics wood grain really nicely. This is on the rice paper. I quite like this. It's absorbing this liquid high flow paint really nicely. This is very soothing to play with. So I don't know what this brush is called, but I would look for these and get them. I recommend it. Okay. I'm going to go do one more sheet on this. So then just with a regular kind of ratty house brush, not too much paint. So this is great. Like, let's say I wanted to do fur on an animal. This ratty brush mimics that really nicely. Okay, now I'm going to go wet strength tissue paper and use a toothbrush. And kind of want to have your space, nothing too precious nearby, because here we go. So just simply splatting. Again, this would make kind of a nice sand texture. So not only are we getting all these great collage papers, but we're getting to know our tools and materials and what marks they can make. That's a side benefit. Okay, now maybe you want just some straight colored papers or a mixture of colors. So I'm going to go with this wet strength tissue. I'm going to try just a regular acrylic. I'm going to go 2 colors. And I'm going to take my squeegee, my catalyst tool, and just scrape across a really thin layer. This is nice on this wet strength tissue paper. I like this. It absorbs the paint nicely. I got a little left over, so I'll do a little bit more. I am going to try, I'm going to try this high flow. I don't know how quickly it's going to absorb into the paper, but I'm going to give it a go. It does absorb pretty quickly, but I'm seeing I could also do some intentional squeezing lightly dots and staining with that. So what's going to happen is you make these, some of these papers, you know, the process you're going to like a little bit better. Like I really like this. I could see myself doing a whole stack of these. I like the staining possibilities. As a matter of fact, it's coming through onto that one on the bottom. I'm going to go back and do some on drawing paper, and then I'm going to show you some ink and stick on here, which is another process or technique that I like. Okay, so that's my high flow. I'm just going to squeegee across. So sometimes it's nice to have just solid colored paper. A little bit of this goes a long way. So I could keep some solid paper, and then I'm going to do some ink and stick on one of these colored sheets of paper. This blobbed over, so you'll get some accidents, and I like those a lot too. Paper towels are fun to play with. Okay, so ink and stick. I'm going to go India ink for this one. And here's my stick. I might even draw with that dropper. We'll see. Okay, so here goes the stick. And then I'm just going to draw just some meandering lines on here. I've used these in pieces before, and they form a really interesting background. Again, this is one of those ones that I find really soothing to make. And it's great to do these collage papers if you want to get your hands on art materials, but let's say you don't have any ideas, you don't have any energy for that, you can make these. Sometimes when it gets a little bit drier, that's an interesting line as well. Stacks and stacks and stacks of these. Okay. Take my palette knife. and do some scraping there. Okay, I'm getting carried away now. Oh, I was going to try the dropper. Speaking of getting carried away. Okay, if you don't have a stick, you could just draw with the dropper. Why not? If there's too much paint, you could try and blot it with another sheet of paper, in this case, the paper bag, and get marks on there. Okay, and so that is it for handmade collage papers. I would say kind of unconventional. Um, have fun exploring and playing.